Ed, hello.
Hello there.
How are you?
Pretty good, Gregory.
So great that you're doing this with us. We're so honored. We're so pleased.
Well, I'm hope we get something out of it.
I know we will. Where are you calling from, by the way?
I am calling from Culver City, California, which is a little neighborhood in Los Angeles. And I'm in my studio where I've been for about the last 10 years. And I spend a lot of time here. And, and it's my favorite place.
It looks so beautiful just from what I can see in the background. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions and you can answer them as you wish or not. It's really up to you how you want to do it. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah, sure.
My first question is, what was your first aesthetic awakening when you first realized you wanted to be an artist?
Well, I guess it was when I was a kid and I had spilled a bottle of Higgins Black India ink, and it spilled out over the tabletop and hit some white paper, and a big gurgle of it came out, almost the whole bottle. And instead of cleaning it up, I began to see some kind of promise in it, in this puddle. And I left it and came back to it, and it dried into a crust. And then the next day I came back and it was all cracked apart. And I could see some kind of integrity in this puddle, in this hard puddle. And I combined that with my interest in comic strips and cartoons and black India ink on white paper done with speedball pens and that sort of thing. And so I think that's about as far back as I can go.
That is such a great image. I love that. So powerful. Who were some of your early influences when you were coming of age?
Well, I grew up in Oklahoma City, and I would go to the municipal auditorium there, and I heard that Spike Jones and his City Slickers were a band that played back then in the 40s. And I probably felt like it's time to be a little pushy. And so I hung around the stage door, back door, and knocked on the door, and the door opens. It's Spike Jones.
Wow.
And he said, "What do you want?" I said, "I just want to watch you." And he said, "Well, here's $1. Go get me a dozen eggs. Bring it back, okay?" And oh, wow. I mean, I went to heaven with that and brought back a dozen eggs. And then in the performance, they threw eggs at each other, all the band members. So I liked the irreverence and the cartoony, comical aspect of it, and then I got inspired by sports figures like Ted Williams and baseball pitcher Satchel Paige, and people like Jackie Robinson, who I was happy to have gotten an autograph from when he did an exhibition game there in Oklahoma City about 1949, I think.
Wow.
And musicians like Count Basie and Billy Eckstine, people like that I would go see, and like that staged at the municipal auditorium. And so that kind of connected me to the world, to the outside world. And it was all sort of like a world of entertainment.
Do you feel that your work is in any way autobiographical?
I can't deny that. I mean, all works sort of speak to yourself, and we all seem to be after the same thing, which might be that we want to open the gates to heaven, you know, in the best way we can. And there's so many moving parts with the, you know, making art. So I just feel like everything I do is for myself, and it's like putting all these things in a blender, like bolts in a blender.
Yeah. What is the least favorite part of the artistic process for you? The part that you like least?
Least favorite. There are
Yes.
probably a lot. I mean, I need a pad and pencil here. I would say the things I mean, really, it's like the dangerous things like toxic art materials.
Yeah.
Powdered pigment and there's things like that are no good to breathe. You probably are exposed to chemicals.
I have been, yes.
Photographic process, and yeah, the art studio, regardless of what you're working with, is suspect when it comes to, you know, the safety of materials. And so
Yeah.
that's probably my least favorite thing.
What is the part you like best?
That's a harder thing to answer, but I suppose I signed up for this years ago, and I do like finishing something, and the doing of something is not always the most enjoyable thing. So I like finishing things, and I sort of equate it with pounding it out in stone, you know, like getting it down in stone. And maybe that's what I like best about the whole thing.
How do you know when something's done, when it's finished?
Sometimes I don't, and it's so it's always something different around every corner.
Yeah. What are, if you look at all the work you've done, what do you feel is the thing that connects it all together in your mind? Are there certain themes or motifs or preoccupations that connect all the dots for you?
You know, I feel like I live on ground level, and so it seems like most of the things that push me or trigger my production as an artist comes from man-made things and popular things. And so I'm not living out in the cosmos, or I'm not extraterrestrial, and I don't want to be testamistical.
Yes. Do you feel that your work has changed our view of the American landscape in any way?
Well, the American landscape, yeah, it's always been what it is, and I'm not sure I contribute to it, but landscape to me, first thing that comes to mind is a flatness, horizontality, and things like that. And all I'm doing with my work is just kind of like telling my side of the story. And if I feel like I can do that, then I've accomplished something to myself.
What is your workday like?
Well, I like, I kind of pictured almost like taking my lunch pail to work. And they asked this sports writer, Jim Murray, what he thought about the boxer, Joe Frazier.
Yes.
What kind of fighter is Joe Frazier? And he says, well, he takes his lunch pail to work.
Yeah.
And I liked it, and I understood that. And and then they interviewed the actor Robert Mitchum, and they said, who are your heroes? Or do you have a hero? And he said, yeah, you know, my hero is the poor slob that takes his lunch pail to work. And I felt that kind of encompasses what what I'm all about too.
Yeah, that's great. Do you ever think about who your audience is? That
Well,
a concern?
I like to say that I don't know who my audience is, and I don't really do. But I mean, I meet people. I meet a lot of people, um, and it's certainly a cross section of humanity who might know my work or like my work or respond to it. And so the thing is, I feel like I'm never, I don't have an audience that I'm trying to communicate with. So I'm just back again, talking to myself, examining my own navel and doing stuff for myself. And the audience comes later.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite movie? A movie that changed your life?
Oh yeah. I'd say the movie Grapes of Wrath.
Yes.
From 1939, I think, or from 1940, and that was a powerful movie to me because it connected me to where I grew up, which was Oklahoma, and the Dust Bowl, and I knew those people, and I always, when I think back on it, I think about it as almost like it's a black and white world.
Yes.
It's not a world of color, it's black and white. And then, and then the movie Nosferatu.
Yes.
Okay. That's, that had one of the scariest people I've ever seen.
Wow.
And as a matter of fact, I just got this today. Can you see this? I'm going to put this in front of the camera. Can you see that?
Yes.
You see that man in the...
Lift it up a little bit. Yes.
You see that?
Yes.
Okay. Isn't that Nosferatu?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's great.
I mean, there are also artistic statements like, I always like that so many cc's of Paris air captured in a glass vial by Marcel Duchamp.
Yes.
And it had a curly Q at the top that you could hang it on something, and then it sort of petered out at the bottom, and then the inside vial supposedly had X number of cc's of Paris air, and that was an awakening, I suppose.
Yes. How has success affected your work, do you think?
I should go to Mark Twain for that. I like what he said. Yeah. The recipe for success is combining ignorance with confidence. And if I ask myself, I don't know that I would ever know about that. But just being in a system that enables me to continue is, I find that to be a reward.
Yes.
And if that's success, albeit good.
And what have you learned through failure?
Well, I haven't learned too much from it except mistakes, and mistakes usually are success. You want to capitalize on those mistakes, and you have to have a proper negative environment to encourage you to do stuff. And so something that fails to me usually gets tossed and forgotten, and when it's forgotten, it's dead. But I would say that the fear of failure is almost worse than failure. But the mistakes, those are the things you look for, little sidesteps, errors that you trip on and you fall to the floor and people laugh at you.
It's a great answer. And my very last question, I told you it wouldn't take that long. What is your advice to the students?
Well, I could never beat this one statement made by Max Ernst. They asked him that same question. I think he said, cut off an ear. And there's something sassy about that, but then there's also a lesson to be learned somehow.
Ed, thank you so much for taking time out. We really appreciate you. And I know that it's something that you don't often do, so it's such a great honor. And you know, your work has been such a huge influence on me and so many other artists. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Gregory, and you hang in there, okay?
Yeah, you do too.
Don't stop what you're doing.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you. Thanks for the words of encouragement, and thank you so much, Ed. It really is a great pleasure.
Good. So I'll see you on campus one of these days.
Yes, yes. Well, I hope to be back out in LA at some point, I guess, right?
All right, you have to connect and come by.
Yeah, I'd love to. Okay.
Right.
Bye. Thanks again.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.